a second. Global warming's just a theory, right? I mean, how do we really know that the temperature's changed over time?
Well, there are lots of different ways. Scientists gather temperature from places all over the world and can use satellites to see the temperature of the oceans and the size of the ice caps in the far north and south. But have we always been able to do that? No. This technology is modern. Certainly, people have been recording the temperature of some areas for well over a century. But as you go back further in time, the data gets harder and harder to find and use. When scientists want to go much further back in time, they need other methods. Some scientists study the rings of trees. Since trees grow differently in warmer weather and wetter weather, they can help scientists figure out what the climate was like long ago. Other scientists use samples of ice in Greenland and Antarctica. These give scientists information about climate long ago. These scientists can also study pockets of air trapped in ice for thousands of years, which help them understand how the atmosphere has changed over time. Still other scientists drill cores into the mud on the floor of the ocean. These cores contain the remains of creatures which once lived in that part of the sea. By looking at how the sea life has changed, scientists can figure out if the water in that part of the sea was once warmer or colder than it is now. Finally, some scientists use computer models of the Earth to predict how the planet might change in the future if there is more carbon in the air. Once scientists reach a conclusion, their data is checked by other scientists in a process called peer review. This is one way to make sure that the conclusions are reasonable and accurate. If their work passes this test, it can be published in scientific papers called journals, or the scientists can present their work at conferences. After that, other scientists try to repeat the same work. If the findings can be repeated, then they are considered even more accurate. If the hypothesis stands up to many tests over time, then, and only then, is it considered a theory.
Global warming, or climate change, is a theory. That means it stood the test of time, just like the theory of gravity.
When you look at scientific data, make sure to check for the following. Is the person speaking a scientist working in his or her own field? Where did the data come from? Has the data been peer-reviewed and presented at conferences or published in scientific journals? Have the findings been repeated?